Major Andre was an Eagle Scout as a young man, and he was one of those perfect sons, worked with his dad, did everything he could to save his money, worked hard to get into the Naval Academy, worked every summer when he came home.
Well, Jimmy Sizemore was well known in our hometown of Lawrenceville, Illinois, as a jolly fellow, an upbeat fellow, and he was liked by everybody because he was outgoing and just friendly.
A little on the quiet side. He was very thoughtful, and when you ask him a question, frequently it took him a little while to respond because he wanted to give you the most correct answer that he could. And he was a person that people listened to for that reason when he spoke.
Dad was a very generous, very kind, very considerate individual that had a lot of compassion for people.
My dad always had a smile. He never met a stranger. He was smart, he was funny, he liked to learn new things.
He was Superman, loved his family, loved his country, loved the Air Force.
Well, he joined the Air Force in 1950 because the older brother, me, was flying off a carrier out there, and his dad had been in the Navy, and it seemed like a tradition to join and to do his thing.
I'm absolutely proud of my grandfather. He's one of my biggest role models.
Their relationship went back prior to being in the squadron together. They were actually in school together at Georgia Tech many years prior to that, so I'm sure that they were extremely close. They were kind of like brothers in a way.
And they built upon that friendship over the years, even the time that they knew each other in KP.
He was called up to go back to action in Vietnam, and he willingly went.
And it was over right in the thick of things, and it's probably one of the more dangerous jobs, flying at night in a prop airplane.
So they were doing air-to-ground mission at night, real dark area, hilly terrain, sporting special forces, and you know, that's just about as tough as it gets as far as the mission goes.
Their plane was hit with anti-aircraft fire of some sort.
Well, I actually answered the door when the two Air Force officers came to our door to tell us that my father was missing in action, and they were pretty sure that they weren't going to find anything, that he couldn't have survived the wreckage.
They were shot down in an area that was described as a very hot, hostile area, and it was in Laos, and it was just a country that we didn't have access to initially to go in and look for, at the wreckage site, look for remains. So from the day that my uncle and Major Andre were shot down and lost until today, it's been over 44 years, a very long time.
We've been receiving mail from JPAC for probably 25 years saying that they were always going to go into the crash site, they were going to excavate the site. They knew they were there, but political reasons they couldn't go in there, and we understood that. And I got a call from a senior master sergeant at, I'm pretty sure it's Dover Air Force Base, saying that they were at the crash site and they were pretty sure they recovered some remains.
This really meant to me that I get to really bring Dad home. This is, it's been an arduous journey for 44 years.
We were stunned. I mean, to go all this time and have them say, "We've got your father." To say they had my father back was pretty amazing.
I am proud of my father. Let's call him my hero.
They were buried there in Laos together for 44 years, and the families thought that it would be proper to, you know, to bring them home, but to have their final resting spots together, just like they had been prior to that.
So for them to bring him home after all these years was just a blessing to our family.
I knew National Airport was going to be hard for me. The whole idea of Dad really coming home.
It was surreal. I have watched this over and over and over again on television, and I thought, how do families go through that?
It was just overwhelming to see those caskets coming off that aircraft. We've been waiting for a long time for that.
It was just fantastic. It was a beautiful day anyway, The aircraft was on time, even better. The whole family was there.
The Air Force looked sharp. The color guard there did their thing and took both caskets over individually to the hearse. I mean, it was a powerful few minutes. These two warriors, these two great Americans, were treated with, all the proper respect that they should have in that evolution. It was, for me, it was really an emotional event.
As soon as those caskets were on the conveyor belt, just a flood of emotions. Not really sure what to think or say.
So seeing the flags over the coffins, that took my breath away.
At last, after 44 plus years, Jimmy was coming back to the United States, and he was going to be properly interred at the Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors, and it was just perfect. It couldn't have been better.
This morning we had the funeral service at the Old Post Chapel at Arlington, and that was a very formal service.
They brought the caskets in, and we had a service.
My brother spoke about Dad and about today being a happy occasion.
Today, I really want you to understand this is a celebration. Maybe 44 and a half years ago, as a young child, this was a sad moment and day. Didn't know what the world was going to become, didn't know what was going to happen to me, didn't ever know what would ever turn out. How would we ever get to this point? We're able to bury him here in Arlington National Cemetery, and I believe that both Dad and Howard would have wanted it this way. They would have wanted the families to join together on this specific day to have this time together, not apart.
The caskets were taken out, loaded aboard the caissons. We all came out and followed the caissons down to the gravesite.
I requested the 2 caissons for Major Sizemore and Major Andre, and the reason why is to maintain that bond between the two that they've had for such a long time.
It was very emotional walking through Arlington and seeing all the graves.
And then actually walking behind the caissons and thinking, this is for us, this is for Howard, and this is for James. And I felt very, very honored.
They flew together, they fought together, they went off to war together, and they died together. So it's only fitting that they were buried together. The flyover it's a really big deal, and to an aviator, it's kind of a proper send-off to a fellow aviator.
Flyover for an aviator is by far one of the highest forms of respect.
These two individuals absolutely deserve a flyover from the United States military, but since they are unable to do that, we were able to do that for them in these aircraft.
The Department of Defense had declined the flyover, so they contacted me. They asked if I might be able to help them out, and I said, sure, let me check with all my flying bubbas and see if they'd be interested.
So this is what we'd like to do. There are 2 sets of remains coming back from Vietnam to be interred at Arlington Cemetery. The military is not able to provide the proper flight over in the missing man formation. We'd like to do it with civilian assets. Are you interested? And I said, absolutely, 100% yes.
So a group of us got together and decided, this needs to be honored. This needs to be done. And we got together and formed a band of some of the best formation pilots around and said, let's do this.
So not only is this evolution 8 aircraft flying over, but it's also a bunch of civilians pulling together and doing what the government basically can't do these days because of cutbacks.
I started talking to them several months ago, and I just couldn't believe they were going to do this. They were going to do the flyover regardless of how much money we raised, and to them, they felt like it was their duty.
We had to work with all the government agencies, TSA, Secret Service, Homeland Security, FAA, actually the Department of Defense as well. And it took about 3 months to bring it all together, but today we pulled it off.
Some of the challenges of this event definitely were flying over the National Capital Region, which is a very restricted airspace. We had to talk extensively with the FAA.
It was us being able to coordinate and make sure everyone's on the same page with frequencies and altitudes and restricted area. Obviously, it's a very restrictive area to be flying near so close to the White House and the Capitol, and I think everyone wanted to make sure that there were no mistakes. This is one you can't have any mistakes on.
Drago 5-1 in flight, you are cleared for takeoff.
Okay, stand by 5-1 flight, all set.
To fly in this kind of formation, it does take a lot of practice. As I said, most of us are military and have previous jet experience flying in close formation. To be able to put this together with a bunch of retired guys was a lot of fun and definitely worth the endeavor.
When we were walking behind the caissons down to the gravesite, there was some skepticism, looking up in the sky and going, hey, the sky is still kind of cloudy. What happens if it's too cloudy? Are we going to get a flyover? And so there was doubt in some people's minds as if we were going to have the flyover or not. And there was a little glimmer of blue sky here and there. The clouds started to part. And so the blue sky and the sun started to peek through in certain areas. It's like, yep, it's going to happen. Something great's going to happen today. It's going to go on.
The flyover started with a B-25 and with an A-26 and 2 P-51s.
You could feel the electricity in the cockpit, around 300 miles an hour. Just nothing else mattered. The only thing that mattered for that second and a half when we were time over target was just an immense sense of respect.
At that point, seeing the aircraft my grandfather flew, I did start to tear up a bit. I mean, it's different. I've seen a static display of his aircraft, I've seen pictures, but seeing it flying, all I can imagine is him and Major Sizemore sitting up there flying.
The flyover this morning was amazing. It just was amazing. As a child, we used to go to the outside of the runway, a safe distance away, and watch my dad take off. And there would always be a lot of families there because planes would be taking off, and our dads would flash the lights or tip the wings. And so today, seeing the planes go over, I had to wave because that's what I did as a child. And so that was touching because I've seen all the emails, I've read them, and was concerned that maybe this just wasn't really gonna happen, and to know that it really was happening was such an honor for our dads. It just was amazing.
Welcome home, Major Sizemore and Andre.
And then the 4 L-39s followed with one pulling off as missing man.
And as soon as the missing man information came over, as soon as one broke and headed to the heavens, tears started rolling.
Today, returning back to Manassas, I felt just honored that we were able to accomplish the mission and to honor these great families.
Pretty spectacular to think that all those planes, the 8 planes were flying over Washington, D.C. today to honor 2 men being buried in Arlington National Cemetery was spectacular.
Absolutely, we did him proud today. And I'm very blessed to be here, very honored.
If anything can provide full closure, this event did.
I'm just kind of numb this whole weekend. I've watched all this, and for it to finally happen for my family and the Sizemore family is just unbelievable.
I would tell the Warrior Flight Team, just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your dedication, your commitment, your professionalism, and your honor and respect today.
I don't know what to say to those guys. I can't thank every one of them enough for what they did. but to have a flyover for our fathers was just the cherry on top of the cake. It was so perfect.
God bless the Warrior Flight team. I know that the flyover today was so much more meaningful because it was done by people who wanted to do it.
Everything was done so tastefully and with so much sensitivity that I just have to say it's probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, the most beautiful ceremony I've ever attended. It was he would have been very proud of it also.
So I know for my family and the Andre family, they'll remember this for the rest of their life. It was just a phenomenal day, perfect day, you know, when you kind of look at it. One of those that you'll never forget.
The Warrior Flight Team was both honored and humbled to be part of and participate in this most special day for the Andre Sizemore families, and we now welcome both families to the Warrior Flight Team.